Hey guys, it's just about 4 o'clock in the morning. Um, about to start my writing for the today. I'm running a little bit late than usual. But here I am with another video, and I understand that a part of your word and a part of things is leading by example. You know, I can say all these things about life, but unless I actually do it, you know, it doesn't mean the same. Well, I thought of that, and I'm going to explain right now to everyone that I'm about as real as I can get when I say what I say. You know how I know that? I just lost my job. Again. All they said was, it's just not a good fit. Regardless, here I am. Again. I'm 35 years old. I have 2 college degrees. And I have a very rich and proud and tenured, employment history, regardless of what it may look like on paper. I did some great work. Some of my proudest work was in healthcare. So then why? Why am I here? Well, there are reasons, but I can tell you right now, I don't agree with them. But that's not what life does to you sometimes. Sometimes life will give you curveballs. Sometimes life isn't fair. Sometimes, the best way I put it, sometimes life will come out of the dark and stare you right in the face and challenge you and ask you who you are and what you're all about. I can, it's hard to put into words, except for one thing. I'm not stopping. When I say I'm running, I'd rather run myself into the ground, or I'll run myself into the ground rather than give up. I mean it. I'm not giving up. I'll keep trying because I'm really good at helping people. I've done it all my life, and I'm good at it. For example, let's go back 3 or 4 years as a patient escort. I did some great work in that department before I moved on to mental health, which is what I wanted to do. I was always on, just like with every other job I've ever been on. I'm always early. If I'm not going to be early or late, I always let people know, hey, I'm stuck in traffic or for whatever reason. And the only time I ever do nothing is when there's nothing to do. Then maybe. I did it with every other job I've ever been on. And that was no different. I did some pretty great work in that department. And I was proud of that. I helped a lot of people get where they needed to go, yeah. But I knew what I was worth. Someone had to, go to a surgery. I was there. Someone had to go up into the room because they had broken bones or for whatever reason, I was there. Even those more stressful calls where I prayed because of how stressful it was, I was there. Moving on to mental health. I've had people tell, and because I worked with them, I heard all their darkness during their most difficult moments of their life. And I did my best to help them. I did my best. I've had people say, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here and getting ready to go home with a new take and mindset. You saved my life. And that wasn't just one person. That was many. That's not something that just happened. That's something I did. Let's go back a little further. You want to talk about adversity? And this is about as raw as it's gonna get. My father was a great man and a great, great father. He was my dad. But the last decade or so of his life, physically, he was not well. It's no secret. And it was something that slowly took him away. I saw it. He saw it. Everyone did. But I took care of him. Every day I was over there. And on top of my life, going through jobs, trying to find my way, trying to make something of myself, going back to school for psychology, the pandemic. getting up, going to work. I took care of him. It was not easy seeing someone you love so much, one of the people you love the most, go like that. It was so hard being in those doctor's offices. And they would tell him, where he stood and the pain in his eyes. But I didn't give up. I took care of him. I did something that was so hard to do, but I gladly did it. I sort of put on that jacket and carried that burden. I became his guardian angel. I helped him with everything. And it wasn't all, bad all those times. We would just be sitting there and just have the best conversations. Laughing and crying and remembering all those fishing trips and all those good times. We had some of the best times in the world just sitting there and remembering, but it was all a part of his care. Because otherwise it wasn't like that. Otherwise it was pain, suffering. It was dark. But I was there. I was there. I did whatever he wanted me to do because I loved him. I loved my dad. I still do. And that's why I did it. Because I loved him. I remember one time he stood up and he fell. And I caught him. And he looked up at me and I looked down at him. And he was in my arms, my father. And I looked at him, I said, "What would you do without me?" And he looked up and said, "Fall." And he just kind of laughed and just stabilized himself and moved on. I took care of him until I actually physically, mentally, emotionally, every sense of the word, couldn't do it anymore. It got to the point where everything he asked me was so hard to do because I was so tired of seeing him suffer. My father suffering like that. I didn't want to see it anymore. But I did it anyway. Because I loved him. And I still do. I loved him until the day he died. And you want to know what I did? I got up and I went to work as a behavioral health specialist at Christiana Care, talking about everyone else's darkness. Now you tell me what I'm worth. And I wasn't late for those days either. I was 30 minutes early. I know what I'm worth. That's my example. You never give up. You always try. And you love the people you hold close to you. You love the people you love the most. Because they love you. Dad loved me so much. He was my biggest advocate. And God damn it, I'm not going to let him down. You want to talk about motivation? You want to talk about life? You want to talk about being tough? This is all of it right here. And I'm not done yet. In fact, I'm just getting warmed up. I'm just getting started. I'm not giving up. You better not either.